it really opens up the door. So you have to. I think people are definitely buying in, especially seeing how well transfers are. I mean, we had a full transfer starting five.
Yeah.
So what person does not want to come and
True. And like say it's a school that shows like we'll embrace you no matter who you are.
Even if we're used as a stepping stone. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Our coach has got to, as my mom would say, strike while the iron is hot.
Yeah.
He's got to take full advantage of this situation and all the goodwill he's getting, because state fans are demanding.
Yeah.
We're starved for a winner, and we're tough on coaches sometimes.
Me and Max we're gonna be covering it. We're gonna be
Okay.
I'm not saying another Final Four run or another ACC champ, but
but I mean,
it'd be nice to have a top 4 ACC finish and like one or two tournament wins. I mean, I really don't think that's so much to ask as well.
Yeah.
I mean, just improving, improvement, in the sense of like being a better team than you were the year before.
Yeah, you can't go from this to winning a national championship next year. You have to take building.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, everybody says, of course, it would be nice to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have to. If they could win, say, like 27 or 28 games and get to the Sweet 16 or Final 8.
Yeah.
And the most, I must say, the thing I want most is a team that I can enjoy watching.
Yeah.
For the whole year, and that was Valvano. His team would suffer a tough loss, but it wasn't so hard to take because you knew that he would come up with a couple of tough wins to make up for it.
Yeah. I mean, that's always like the type of coach that I like the most.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like why I liked Rick Pitino so much growing up. It was just like he always had a team that would fight.
Yes.
And like no matter if they were outmatched or like, they weren't playing well, they were still right there in the thick of things.
And you were following him at Louisville?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Back when they're in the Big East.
Yeah. That was back when we were in the Big East.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, Syracuse was also in the Big East at that time.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, they need to go back.
Yeah.
I don't get me started on the ACC.
Yeah, I can't wait for
having two schools from friggin' Bay
I can't wait for
Area,
10 p.m.
California.
kickoff and
Stanford.
It's going to be.
Who else did they get?
SMU, which I mean is Texas, so it's an
Cal.
hour behind, and Cal. So
I'll give you a prediction that will not last more than 5 or 6 years.
You think so?
It will be unsustainable. I think what's going to happen is you may keep those conference alignments for football, but I think a lot of the other sports are going to change.
Yeah.
And you'll have, like the ACC will have the old traditional ACC. It makes no sense.
Which is what it should be.
Send your volleyball or swimming team out to Stanford.
Yeah. I mean, that's so
ridiculous.
Far. Like 3,000 miles.
That's too much. One cynical friend of mine said, what's going to change it is when, he said, the Purdue volleyball team dies in a plane crash flying out to Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long journey.
The cost is just the cost and the wear and tear on the players.
And they still have school.
It's unsustainable.
True. Yeah.
It's not going to last.
I mean,
I hope it fails.
It might succeed for football only.
Yeah,
I see that being the next step.
I just wonder if they ever break up the conferences altogether and just make
and the rest of
a super one.
Yeah, but conferences used to be about teams being close together.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's about TV markets.
Yeah,
it's turned inside out, and I hate it.
Yeah, everything's about money.
Yeah.
If it doesn't make the green, they don't want it.
And they're going to find out that this is unsustainable.
I mean, it's even come to the point where
change.
Historic schools like Florida State.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I feel like they definitely were wronged and weren't backed by ACC in their own debacle. But for them to threaten to leave, I think it's just crazy. Because I'm I feel like when you think of the ACC, you think of a few schools, and they're definitely one of them. And I feel like it's always a big jump to hop and be like, oh, I want to leave. I mean, I think the fact that the Pac-12 is not going to exist next year is insane. I can't even fathom it because I'm going to be that Pac-12 doesn't exist.
And you haven't grown up with it for over 50 years.
Exactly.
You've only experienced it for 15 or 20.
Yeah.
Us old people are like, it's just.
It's gonna be. It's also gonna be hard for the fans to keep up with like all the changes too.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, like this school's like playing this school now. Like, oh, that's kind of weird, isn't it?
And then there are some teams like look at Maryland. They did great in the ACC. They haven't done jack squat since they left the ACC.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
they're in over their heads,
mm-hmm.
and they're, there's no, it used to be Maryland fans, and some have told me this, we got excited about playing State or Duke. We're playing Iowa.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I mean, it's so far, like,
with Iowa.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it definitely, like, like if State was playing, I don't even know, like you said, if State was playing Iowa, I'd be like, cool. Yeah. Whereas, like, when State plays Duke, I'm like, I can't wait to beat them.
And the fact that we don't play Duke in football every year is criminal.
Yeah. I mean, something I've definitely, like, I've always said when I talk to people about this, like, not being from North Carolina, I never, like, truly understood the North Carolina, like school beef until I started going to State. Yeah. And it isn't even that, like, I wouldn't even say anything, like, specific even happened. Mm-hmm. But it was more so just, like, going here and, being around the school and, seeing the red a little bit more. Like, I a little bit of disdain in my heart has grown for, like, the UNC and the Dukes where I'm like, I can't wait till we beat them. Like, I love whenever they lose, I can't wait to text my friend who goes to UNC and be like, just talking trash to them.
Well, now that I've kind of enlightened you on why so many of us have
right, I was going to say, that's I'm sure that's where a huge part of the hate began.
It's because for all these years, our local media protected them and let them pretend to be this public ivy that graduates 90% of its players. When some of us have come to the realization graduate means they get a piece of paper that means they may or may not have
done their
own work and attended. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of Carolina alumni have perfectly fine degrees.
Yeah, or they go back to school.
Gone on to be doctors and dentists and lawyers.
Yeah.
Of course, those are usually the bench warmers.
Yeah. But you're envious because, like, we got hit for doing something they did, and they really honestly
program destroyed over 10% of what they did.
I mean,
40 and 50 years,
and I feel like they got exposed like not even like that long ago. Like in the past, like what was it?
Fake classes.
What was it, like 2016?
Yeah, for giving gifts to players and stuff.
And, like, I feel like they were not, like, I mean, like, I can't remember a punishment they got. Like, or if it was, like, it was nothing, like, significant.
Some of the,
I think they missed a bowl
some
game.
of the Carolina fans do this what about things, like OU State fans have room to talk. You all did all this stuff. But I tell them, we admit it. We did.
Yeah.
We didn't pretend not to for 50 years.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
And we got punished for it as well.
We got punished for it.
I feel like also with, like, the State, like, UNC and Duke rivalry, I feel like the fan bases of the teams...
They're so different.
Yeah, and I feel like they very much, like...
Well,
it almost like not mirrors a school, but like represents the school. Where it's like like State. I feel like State is very much like
the
blue collar, common, common man. And then Duke, you got your like snobby, like your parents went here, and like UNC, it's almost like it's the same, but they're kind of like they're a little bit more like snarky about it.
Well, one big difference too is their fan bases are so different. You look at State's fan base and the vast majority of them either attended here or have family ties.
Yeah.
Something like that. And they stick around.
Mm-hmm.
The Duke fans...
None of them went there.
None of them.
Yeah.
The Duke students...
I mean, even UNC, I would say, I wouldn't say, like, UNC fans. Like, I mean, they definitely have fans who, but, like...
That's why they can't sustain football that well.
Yeah.
They just don't have enough people to fill the stadium.
Oh, it's...
Because all their alumni go back home to New Jersey.
Yeah. No, I like to call it the battle of people who probably didn't go there and people who definitely didn't go there.
And then Carolina's fan base, maybe half of them actually attended.
Yeah.
And the rest just follow because they're winners.
Yeah.
Right.
they're bandwagoners.
I mean, but it's crazy how far their reach is. Like, I remember, I mean, of course, not that far, but like, my like older like childhood, like in high school, I lived in Winston-Salem, so you know, I go to the Wake games, and it's Wake playing UNC.
Mm-hmm.
It is all blue.
Oh yeah.
There is like
I've been to Wake. I've been to a state Wake game. It's the same way.
There's
three-fourths red.
And I was like, that's insane because I'm like, you know, it's a home game.
I've been to several state Duke games in Wallace Wade.
Yeah.
Oh
They've
yeah.
all been majority state fans.
But it's crazy how like the schools that like, I mean, of course, like winning definitely helps the culture, but like, I mean, like what we were talking about earlier, we were like Clemson. Like,
Oh yeah.
Clemson plays anyone, it's going to be a orange sea.
You should have seen when Alabama came into town to play Duke about 10 years ago. Oh my God, they took over Durham.
They played in Wallace Wade.
Where Alabama actually came to Wallace Wade.
That is insane. I can't believe they got him to do that.
Yeah. And of course, Alabama wiped. This was one of Duke's bad years. And
Yeah.
It was like 49-0, something like that.
It was something like that, and it was one of Cutcliffe's early years when he was trying to build the program.
Yeah. And I actually like Wallace Wade. I went there this year for the state game, and it was. I mean, it was quiet, but
Yeah.
it was.
How small? Like
It's still a pretty big. It's just like it's
about
in the
40,000
ground. Yeah.
seats now, but
Okay.
they just cannot fill it up.
They can't. The student section can't even fill it. Yeah.
Their alumni just don't stick around. And
For basketball, they'll be there, but I mean, that's also a smaller gym.
I wish the men played more games in Reynolds.
Reynolds.
I love like
Non ACC games should be in Reynolds.
like just like the atmosphere, like
Yeah,
because
all
it
of
is
the ones
smaller.
except for the big name opponents.
Yeah.
Should be in Reynolds.
And it's just like I don't know. It's just like you know when something about when a team has a person in every single seat is a million times better than like because even though like maybe at PNC it might have more people, having like someone at every single seat is so underrated. Like
Oh yeah.
like the noise.
And I hated that and this was one thing that bothered me. We vastly overinflate our attendance figures. That they go by tickets sold, and
that includes season ticket holders.
You know,
the game,
some games this year I watched on TV and it said we had 12,000 there, and I was
maybe
you
6.
gotta be
Yeah.
kidding, 6.
And the bottom bowl's like empty.
And that was another thing I was pulling for toward the end of the season. I was like, I hope people stop coming so they can send a message.
Well, yeah, I mean, as a student going to those last few home games, I mean, it was nobody there.
I stopped going after a while too.
And I mean, when you would hear Keats on the thing get announced, you'd hear boos and it'd be louder than the cheers for people like Burns. I mean, it was.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me.
Me included. Me and Ben Stevens were booing him. It was.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, you only can take losing for so much.
It is. It just wears you down.
Again, it wasn't losing. It was because I knew that we had the quality to win,
it.
and you saw
We
that in
had
the
no
tournament.
excuse
Right.
for losing half the games that we lost, and that was what frustrated me so badly. And luckily, I don't. The one thing is not one good thing about not making much money is you're unable to pour any down the rat hole
Right.
that has been NC State basketball for the last few
Yeah.
years. I felt so bad. I feel so bad for people that invest thousands of dollars every year
To NIL
and
and
get
stuff
no
like that.
return
Yeah.
on their investment.
Yeah.
But I felt, if I were a season ticket holder, I might feel a little differently. I would feel like I was pulling out my support on them, but I never did anyway.
Yeah.
Not with my money, since I don't have any. Are we?
Yeah.
We've been here a while.
Yeah, we'll be in a good spot. Do you have any closing remarks?
No, I mean this has been a great, conversation.
I
I'm so
knew
glad
we'd fill up this time.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I've learned this much about you.
Absolutely.
Me and Max are both graduating. I just want to say thank you for,
Well,
Yeah, you've been a great advisor, an important person.
I'm going to be very sad in a couple of weeks because
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that I'm going to miss a lot.
Yeah.
And I hope you all come back and
I'll probably
I'll drag him along. I'll make sure I pull him
I'll
out.
be around. I'll be around.
Yeah.
But thank